Hey guys, okay, welcome to a video on concealer kind of tips and tricks and brushes and stuff like that. I'm just gonna ramble about stuff here for a second, so feel free to shut it off at any time. No, hopefully not. I hope that this will help. A lot of this is information that some of you might know, but some of it might be interesting. I'm going to start off talking about brushes. The brushes that I like to use for concealer aren't concealer brushes, and so I think that might be kind of interesting for some of you. One of my favorite concealer brushes, these are all MAC brushes, is the 252 brush. This is sort of a larger version of the 242 brush. I'm going to show you these here. I think that this might help actually. You can see the difference between the two brushes there. The larger one is the 252, the smaller one is the 242. They are very, very, very similar. The 252 has synthetic bristles in it, and it makes it easier to use with cream products because you can wash it out a lot easier. I love the 252 though. This is one of my favorite brushes. This does a wonderful job of, especially under the eyes, just sort of patting the product on and then blending it out. This is probably my favorite concealer brush. This is the brush that I used for Pro Longwear Concealer to get it to look perfect and get just the right amount on the area, and it lasted all day and it looked really good. So I highly recommend checking this brush out, and it's also a really good eye brush. You can use this for an eyeshadow base, primer, color, like a paint pot, anything like that. This is an amazing brush. I like brushes to be multi-purpose. Personally, I hate a brush that just does one job. Unless it does it so amazingly well that I can't live without it, I need a brush to do at least 3 different things really good in order for me to like it. Next on my list of brushes that I really like for concealer is the 227. This is a big fat eyeshadow brush, and I wanted this brush for a really long time, but I didn't know what the hell I was going to do with it, so I never bought it. But I finally broke down, I don't know, I think a year ago, and picked it up, and I do love it. It's a great brush for blending out areas, like if you've got some sharp edges or anything like that. It's perfect for that. It's also, though, an amazing concealer brush, mostly with cream concealers, but you just put it in the product, and then again, you can kind of pat it on and blend it out. It works really, really, really well for that purpose. I love this as a concealer brush. Last on my list of concealer brushes is the 224. I've seen a lot of MAC makeup artists use concealer with a 224 brush, whether it's a liquid concealer or a cream concealer. They kind of dip it in and then sort of, you know, put it around the area, sort of fluff it out. It works really well. It's not my favorite concealer brush, but it does work pretty well, and it does a nice job at just sort of getting a little bit of product on an area. So if you don't need a lot of concealer, you just need a little bit, definitely check out the 224 for that. It's probably one of the only things I use the 224 for, because I actually hate this brush, believe it or not. I think it's kind of a crap blending brush. I know a lot of people love it. It's sort of a standard blending brush that everybody loves. I find that it's just far too soft, and it just doesn't do a good job for me. So I tend to use this as a concealer brush, or if I'm putting glitter in an area, something like that. It's a good highlighting brush. I really like it for that. But other than that, meh. I only have 2 of these, and I hardly ever use them. Alright, the next thing that I'm going to talk about is the actual product itself. I'm going to start with under eye circles, because that's a really common thing that a lot of people try and cover up. I do too, because I have dark circles under my eyes. There are so many different people, so many different books, so much information out there that is contradictory to other information that's out there. A lot of people will tell you all kinds of different things when you're trying to conceal dark circles under your eyes. Some people put concealer on before foundation, some people put concealer on after foundation. Some people say pick a concealer that's like 2 shades lighter than your natural skin tone because it's going to brighten the area. Some people say that's bull. pick a concealer that's your skin tone because you're supposed to match it to your skin. Some people say that you want to pick a concealer that is peach toned because generally speaking, the circles that are under your eyes have a little bit of a blue tone to them, so you want something that's the opposite of blue to help cover that up. That means orange, which translates into peach when you're talking about concealer. So when people say use a peach toned concealer under the eyes, they're really saying you want to use something that's the opposite of whatever color you got going on under there. So if you got a lot of blue under your eyes, then yes, absolutely, go ahead and try something that is more peach toned than you would normally put all over your face, because it's going to help block that blue. Some people straight up will use skin correctors under their eyes and then go over it with a concealer. Principle is basically the same, it's just a different way of approaching that goal. Now, in regards to whether or not you should use something that's lighter than your own skin tone or your actual skin tone, that's completely up to you. Personally, I actually just use foundation for concealer. 90% of the time, if all I'm doing is covering up under eye circles, I just take a little bit more foundation and put it on there. But if you need a little bit more coverage, then you're going to want to look at a different type of product, and then you are going to be considering, well, should this match exactly the person's skin tone and exactly the foundation I'm using, or should it be lighter? And that's completely a matter of personal preference. If you want a lot of sort of highlighting going on here, then go ahead and pick something that's lighter. It's going to make it easier on you, because if it is naturally highlighting this area, then you don't have to come back later with a highlighter and highlight that area. And the less products that you put on your face, the more natural your skin is going to look. The best advice that I could give when dealing with under eye circles, and this may seem like a silly one because a lot of you probably already know this, but to somebody who doesn't, or especially to guys who are kind of interested in getting rid of these dark circles, because I think that it's a really common thing that a lot of people want to get rid of, and a lot of men are interested in doing it, but they don't want to wear makeup, but they don't want to look like they're wearing makeup, or they're really embarrassed to go to a makeup counter and ask somebody about it. The best advice that I could give, because I had to learn this the hard way back when, is to not blend. I'm going to take off my glasses so it's easier. To not take your concealer up onto the lower eyelid. And the reason is that the circles that you're going to be covering, they're not going to completely disappear. They're still going to be there a little bit, but you're going to be kind of toning them down as much as you possibly can. But when you blend your concealer up onto the lower lid, you're actually making the circles under your eyes appear almost worse, because what you end up doing when you blend it over the whole area is you're highlighting this area, and if you blend it onto the lower lid, you're actually like highlighting the lid, and this is staying a little bit darker. It's still lighter than it normally would be, but it's still a little bit darker, and you end up with this weird sort of sad raccoon look about you, where you look really white around the eye and really white on the cheek, but you still have this sort of dark stripe here. So be mindful of that. Take your concealer and I actually put it on underneath the dark circle and then blend it up. That prevents me from getting any product on the lower lid, because you just don't want that. It just doesn't look natural. So take a little bit of concealer and apply it sort of right under the circle or dark area of your eyes, and then kind of blend it up and build from there and see how it goes. But that's the best advice that I could offer, because like I said, I had to learn the hard way, and there was a time when I was younger that I was trying to cover dark circles under my eyes, and I ended up sort of looking like a weird tired raccoon, and it was kind of scary. The next thing that I'm going to talk about, the last thing that I'm going to talk about, is covering blemishes. In general, I favor using a thicker cream product for covering blemishes. In general, I favor using a thicker cream product for covering blemishes, because it's just easier for me to sort of pat a little bit on and then blend it out. I do that after foundation. I think that it's best to do it after foundation, because if you sort of spot conceal before you put your foundation on, then when you put your foundation on, you kind of just wipe it all away. Doesn't make much sense to me. So I just do it a little bit after foundation. And obviously, in that case, you want a concealer that is the same color as the skin that you're working with, the same color as the foundation that you're working with. You don't want it lighter. You don't need to highlight your pimples. You want to cover them up. So that and a good brush will go a long way in helping to sort of hide those problem areas. That's that. Brushes, eye tips, face tips. I hope that that helps. I hope that that, I don't know, answers some question that you might have had. I thought the brush thing might be kind of cool. It's mostly what I wanted to talk to you about. As always, send me questions. If you have any questions, write them in the comments section or feel free to email them to me. I do try to write back everybody who writes me. It's kind of a thing of mine. It's always been a thing of mine. It used to get me in trouble a lot when I would have personal ads online because someone would write me that I really wasn't interested in. Then I would write them back because I felt like, ugh, if I don't, I'm rude. So I would write them back, and then they'd get excited because they thought that that meant that I was interested in them. And then I felt really obligated to sleep with them. And then before you know, you have this like really long list of people you really didn't want to ever go to bed with that you ended up going to bed with, and you feel kind of like, ew, ick. But yeah, that happens to you, right? That's not just me. Anyway, I will talk to you soon. Take care. Drive safe.